Chapter 24, The Blood of Giants. The Magog's fingers begin to twitch. Held fast with the rest of the world, the sinful beast should be frozen in a single moment of time, a moment without end. The spell binding the earth is not strong enough to restrain the power of the Magog. Hamradal drops to his hands and knees, blood dripping from his nostrils. "No," Hamradal pants. "I cannot hold on any longer." "You must," Mikhail shouts. "It has only been a few seconds. I am not ready." "We are going to die with this world if we continue," Tethwal coughs. "This is our limit. I am sorry." Mikhail releases his energy wings, a blinding light that causes even the other Yazata to flinch. The captains feel rejuvenated and are astonished that their stamina has recovered some. "Hold the line no matter what. I would rather die than have my cowardice be responsible for the destruction of this world." The Magog blinks, managing to bring the small and instinct-based mind it possesses into the present. With its consciousness no longer bound by frozen time, the creature's body cannot be held. Just as the Magog breaks free of the spell holding it, a flash of light covers the entire sky for an instant. "You have done well, brothers," General Uriel of the 7th Choir says. His body is much bulkier than any of the other Yazata, and his exposed arms and face are covered with scars. The general's hair is a darker shade and pulled back into a tight ponytail. Beside him stands his lieutenant, and 200 more seraphim of the elite 7th Choir. "I thought you swore off this battle," Mikhail says, surprised by the appearance of Taniel. "I would never leave my comrades to die, no matter how much I disagree with them," Taniel replies. When General Uriel returned from his mission, the other Arche filled him in on this conflict, and he immediately ordered for us to mobilize. "I was in the universe of fiery deaths, aiding my counterpart against a beast called the Tiamat," Uriel explains. "I had no idea I was needed in this reality." Mikhail is filled with hope. Uriel is the most gifted warrior of all of the Yazata, and only Mikhail himself and Sataniel could ever fight him to a draw. With his added strength and skill, they may be able to win after all. "It is fortunate for us that you came. Another minute, and we would have been killed." Uriel nods and immediately takes command. "Azreniel, Isradriel, relieve those who are weary. Kumriel, evacuate those who are wounded or unconscious. The rest of us shall focus on fighting the Magog directly." Each of Uriel's captains command roughly 50 to 60 soldiers. The captains jump to their tasks, their units following without question. "Chronoa Takibanastra," Hamradal says, telling his relief the spell they are using. Azreniel nods and he begins to weave the complex multiple layers of the time-stopping incantation. The members of his unit mimic his movements, creating a massive wall of spell arrays. "Sign protection against the spell," Uriel orders, drawing a circle of warding in the air with his finger. The Yazata left to battle the Magog shield their comrades from being frozen in time, while the other units carry out their duties. Soon the injured and weakened are no longer in danger, and a fresh unit have redone the Chronoa spell, stopping the Magog once more. The Magog shakes, its entire body vibrating through time. "Has built up a resistance to the spell already?" Taniel whispers in disbelief. "Go!" Uriel screams. The Seraphim warriors flash around the Magog, hacking at the beast with diamond blades. Leaping back into a circle around the Magog, the Seraphim fire energy blasts simultaneously that reduce their target to a cloud of black smoke. "Do not breathe in that smoke!" Taniel shouts in warning. "The Magog can reform its body using our bodies as genetic material." Uriel rushes towards the smoke, whipping his sword around rapidly in a vortex, until the smoke is contained within a small cyclone of air. "Sacrifice!" Uriel shouts. One of the general soldiers darts to his side, quickly conjuring a white lamb. Uriel moves his sword to direct the smoke towards the conjured animal. The smoke enters the lamb, instantly turning its eyes black. With the Magog inside a vessel, Uriel utters a prayer before bringing his sword down across the lamb's neck. The strike is unable to break the lamb's skin, merely bouncing off. Uriel again attacks again and again, but his swings are unable to kill the sacrifice. Damn, Uriel pants. I do not have the power to pardon that much sin at once. The Magog reforms using the lamb's body as material, and quickly grabs Uriel by the throat, delivering a kick to the gut. Uriel crashes to the ground, piling dirt up around him in a deep trench. The Magog pivots, blasting a large group of Yazda with an energy wave. Taniel flies through the blast, engaging the creature in a furious battle, and diverting the energy to the sides to save his allies. The lieutenant is pushed back as the Magog reforms both arms into sharpened blades. Glowing chains wrap around the Magog's waist and arms, pinning the beast long enough for Taniel to connect with a decapitating blow. A new head emerges from the remains, while the original head grows a new body, creating two separate Magogs. The original Magog pulls the magical chains, hoisting Uriel up to them, and into a hard right hook. The second Magog drives a transformed arm through Taniel's chest, before both Yazata are discarded like trash. We are not making any progress, Taniel coughs, trying to heal his puncture wound. Above them, dozens of Uriel's warriors fight against the Magog, but none last more than a second or two. Damn, Uriel curses. That beast seems to have infinite stamina. He winces in pain, convinced that his jaw is dislocated. What do we do? Taniel asks, standing back up. Do you even need to ask? Uriel says. Taniel nods, rushing the Magog once more. The creature drops open its jaw, releasing a burst of red energy. Taniel tries to block the blast with his sword, but is carried backward by the tremendous force. The Yazata's diamond sword shatters, and he is unable to do anything as he is caught within the energy and cannot escape. Propelled across the horizon, the lieutenant of the 7th Choir screams in pain, as the energy burns through his armor and begins to dissolve his flesh. A group of 7th Choir Yazda appear in the trajectory of the blast, attacking at once to divert the energy in a unified assault. The Yazata are unsuccessful and are strewn aside like refuse. Struggling to move, Taniel reaches for his hand, and slips off his worn ring. With the sudden release of his full power, brilliant white light floods out from the Yazata's body and allows him to roll off the blast and drop to the ground. Smoke rises from his blackened body, and Taniel pants with pain and exhaustion. Damn you, Taniel coughs. Do you have no limits to your power? Uriel observes his subordinate's actions and slips off his own warna, his body becoming enveloped in a cyclone of white light. I authorize full release of power. Do not hold anything back. The Magog rushes, seeming to blink out of existence for a moment before appearing inches from Taniel, who is still yet to recover. The Yazda is unable to process the quick movement, which is many times faster than the speed of light, and is struck by a kick to the face that sends him high into the air. The Magog's cheeks swell, filling with energy. Uriel throws a hand out, releasing a small burst of energy that hits Taniel in the side, and knocks him out of the path of the Magog's attack, just as it is released. Glaring at Uriel for his interference, the Magog turns towards him as his next opponent. Uriel pierces the Magog's feet with phantom swords, allowing for Taniel to use Shunko and Ito to teleport within the creature's defenses and deliver a decapitating blow. The Magog pivots, whipping Uriel off balance and crashing into his subordinate. The two Yazda crash together while the Magog charges and releases an orb of red energy into them. A massive explosion follows, blasting the Yazata to the ground in a smoking heap. Uriel coughs, crawling to his base. You still alive? The general asks, wiping blood from around his lips. Taniel groans, struggling to move. I'm not sure. Judging by the pain I feel, I must still live. I fear that we are far outclassed by that monster, Uriel admits. Even with our full strength unbound, we've done no lasting damage to the Magog. Mikhail and his subordinates watch the progress of the battle with growing despair. Not even the legendary 7th Choir is seemingly able to hold their own against the Magog. We are not going to defeat the Magog with brute force, Mikhail says. Binding magic has also failed to contain it. Unless the Magog has some unknown weakness for us to exploit, we will not be successful, no matter what we do, Hamradal adds. The words of his captain sparks an idea in Mikhail's brain. Quickly travel to Naphtali and search the Heirloom archives. Found out everything there is to know about the Magog. Perhaps there exists a weakness that we are unaware of. Search quickly and return here the moment you have anything useful. Hamradal, Tethwal, and Waruniel disappear in a flash of light via Shunkonito. Anshar Realm, world of Naphtali. Since being disbanded after the defeat of Sane, the members of the second choir that were still loyal to the Creator were integrated into the other choirs, while their vast library of texts, scrolls, and books were brought to Naphtali. At the mansion of the Sarum, the dangerous information could be better kept track of. Durachil, steward of the Heirloom archives, assists the first choir captains as they begin their search for any information regarding the sinful beast known as the Magog. Time is of the essence, as every moment they spend is another moment their comrades must hold off the creature. Since the creation of humanity, the Magog has been released 3 times, Durachil says, reading from a magical scroll of hardships and catastrophes. The first time the Magog appeared, mankind was few in number, and the creature was easily dispatched by the seventh choir. Once defeated, the Magog will always revert to its sealed and dormant state within the earth. Tethwal looks up from a text documenting the nature of human sin and the steps needed to perform purification. Yes, we already know all of this. The Magog was simply destroyed by conventional means before the remains were obliterated by a coordinated energy blast, Durachil continues. None of which has worked this time, Tethwal argues. He does not believe the past holds any clues to defeating the Magog. In his eyes, the creature is not the same as in previous incarnations. The second time the Magog revived, the humanity had just fully embraced the worst of the Aesir parading around them as gods. They sacrificed their children to the fires and created many idols. The practice was curbed by the Magog after it thinned the humans to only a handful of small settlements. The seventh choir again engaged the beast, but this time General Uriel determined the Potestas would be needed when he saw that he could not defeat the creature without significant loss of life. Similar to where we stand, Hamradal says. How were the Potestas able to defeat the Magog the last time without destroying the planet? It says only a single Potestas was deemed necessary. How many were sent this time? Durachil asks. 4, Tethwal replies. So we know that the Magog is at least 4 times stronger than it has ever been. There's more, Durachil continues. Apparently, General Uriel was horrified at the aftermath of that battle. He saw the destruction caused by the Potestas, and vowed never again to let them be loosed on living things. We know that the Magog grows stronger the more humans have lived, and the more time has passed since its previous resurrection. But are there any other trends you can see? Hamradal asks. Actually, the time between the first and second releases of the Magog was almost 10 times greater than the second and now. It seems like the amount of time is not a factor in the Magog's increased strength, Durachil corrects. The human population, however, has exploded since the previous release by over 1,000%. More humans, more sin, Tethwal sighs. There are also less faithful among the humans within the last few generations than ever before. With fewer repentant humans, more sin goes unpardoned, and directly fuels the Magog's growth. Waruniel closes the book he has been reading in frustration. All of the best methods for combating the Magog are for preventing its release, not fighting it after it is already woken. Each time the Magog is defeated, it was by an increasing scale of force. The Magog can be stopped, but we need to attack it with greater power that it cannot recover from, Hamradal says. He tries to find positivity in the bleak situation they find themselves in. Not even a Potestas could generate a blast powerful enough to destroy the Magog without also erasing the entire planet beneath them. None of us can surpass a single Potestas in strength, Tethwal laments. Not even the Arche are as strong as a Potestas. The destructive force of an exploding planet would be more than enough to defeat the Magog. I believe that is what the Potestas intend after seeing that their restrained attacks are not adequate, Rachel explains. We were tasked by Mikhail to discover weakness. Telling him to let the Potestas destroy the planet is not what he sent us to do, Hamradal says. We must keep searching. Searching for what? Tethwal shouts. The Magog has no weaknesses. Only a power greater than itself can end that creature. The Magog is fueled by the negative energy of death and sin. You cannot pardon sin that has already been absorbed into the Magog. That's it, Waruniel shouts. The Magog's strength is directly tied to the sin sent to it while it was in dormancy. Consider the Magog's power like a raging fire, and sin is the fuel poured atop. As the fire burns, it consumes the fuel available until all combustible elements are gone. And then the fire dies, Dyrachil finishes. Brilliant! The Magog has a finite supply of fuel, no matter how overwhelmingly strong it seems. Each attack the Magog creates burns up a little more of its power. To stop a fire, sometimes it is possible to douse it with water or dirt. Like the seventh choir, the Potestas being able to overpower the Magog, Hamradal says. Waruniel nods. Other times, the fire grows too out of control, and the only option is to remove any potential fuel from the fire's path and allow it to burn itself out. Purification abilities, Tethwal says, making a fist with excitement. They will not stop the Magog outright, but they will chip away at its fuel source, shortening the duration of its power. Eventually the Magog will burn out. We just need to have the endurance to hang on until that time comes. If you can manage to attack the Magog with a technique to purify the sin fueling it, I believe I have an idea how to amplify the strength of said attacks, Dyrachil says, jogging over to a bookshelf to locate a certain text. In Sheol, where souls are judged in the land of ordeal, you will find an Aesir named Ma'at. The feathers of Ma'at might be able to boost your purification abilities. We shall meet with this Ma'at and petition the use of their feathers. I thank you for all of your help, Steward, Hamradal says. Your success will be the focus of our prayers here. We shall continue searching the archives and notify you if anything pertinent is discovered, Dyrachil says. With that, the members of the first choir depart the world of Naphtali. Mikhail leaps backwards, avoiding the barrage of spears that rain down. The Seraphim Arche keeps moving, unable to stop lest he become impaled. The Magog grins, continuing to fire off hardened spikes from its body. I cannot counterattack if it is not let up, Mikhail thinks with frustration. He tries to visualize the magical symbols in his mind, to weave a protective barrier, but loses focus as one of the projectiles pierces his left leg. Unable to dodge, half a dozen more spikes race towards him. Aginestra, hurrah! Taniel shouts, unleashing a large wall of fire to consume the Magog's attacks. The Magog jumps aside, growling with irritation at the interference. Mikhail winces, pulling the spike from his leg and tossing it to the ground. Thank you. Taniel scoffs, still panting with exhaustion. An Ahura-level spell is severely taxing on its own, but when the caster is already tired, it becomes deadly. I thought you could at least buy me a few moments of rest. You still need more time? Mikhail asks mockingly. You asked for rest, not a full night's sleep. Taniel teleports away, sitting down and closing his eyes. He wants to reply to Mikhail, but knows it will only waste more crucial time. Mikhail manifests a holy scroll in his hands, unrolling it across the ground. Fearless and strong, majestic and deadly. Horned Kim Re'em, I petition your aid. Smoke rises from the scroll as the shadow of a 7-foot-tall stag appears. From the beast's forehead glistens a single white horn. The Magog transforms its arms into curved blades and grins, ready for battle. Re'em charges, streaks of lightning trailing behind him. Horn and transformed claws collide, sparks spraying into the air. Re'em raises up on its back legs, punching the Magog with powerful hoofed blows from its forelimbs. As the Magog reels back, Re'em's horn glows brightly before releasing a beam of energy forward like a solar flare. The Magog and all of the terrain ahead of it for miles is scorched to little more than ash. The power of the holy beasts are truly frightening, and even Mikhail is astonished at the extent of the devastation. Reforming from ash, the Magog is slowed only by a few seconds. The embodiment of sin darts above Re'em, coming down on the beast with a decapitating strike to the back of the neck. Re'em springs forward to dodge, kicking his back legs into the Magog and crushing both his chest and skull. Staggered, the Magog is unable to defend against a second horn blast and is again turned to ash. Mikhail knows that the creature must surely be burning through the energy it absorbed through the Soulless, and cannot continue forever. Conjuring an urn to collect the ashes, he realizes that he may be gravely wrong as the Magog reforms almost instantly. Laughing hysterically, the Magog splits itself into 7 copies, which surround Re'em. The holy beast's horn glows as he prepares to attack, but 2 of the Magog clones grab onto him from the sides, and a third charges to pierce his heart with a transformed arm. Mikhail is knocked to his back out of breath as Re'em explodes into a plume of smoke. The Magog clones merge back into the original, and the creature continues to laugh loudly. Showing no signs of wariness, the Magog fires a beam of energy at Mikhail, forcing the Seraphim to Shunkonugo away to dodge. He quickly summons another scroll in his hands, but the Magog has already located his new location and fires another blast. Erecting a wall of barriers, Mikhail unrolls the scroll across the ground. The Magog fires another energy blast, hitting the barriers and exploding. Thunder roars, and rain pours. Seas churn and the heavens open up at the sound of your mighty name. Li Gong! Mikhail shouts. Already exhausted, the Arche's stamina is drastically cut even further. Merely swinging his sword right now might be a daunting task. The sky fills with storm clouds before a golden beam shines down upon the scroll. Lightning flashes all around as a dragon of white and gold flies up into the sky. The holy beast's form is like that of a serpent, with arms extending in sharp talons. Li Gong's face resembles a tiger's, but his body is covered in scales and a flowing mane of golden feathers. The dragon disappears into the clouds, causing the sky to brighten with a blinding flash before a pillar of lightning crashes down upon the Magog, cracking the earth and driving the creature deep into the fiery mantle. Mikhail begins to sway, his head becoming hazy. "I can no longer buy you any more time," he whispers, collapsing to his back. With its caster unconscious, Li Gong is immediately dismissed into a plume of smoke. Taniel opens his eyes and takes a deep breath before standing. Disappointing. I'd thought an Arche legend would have been more impressive. It seems as though the 7th choir has grown so strong that even us mere officers have risen above the other choirs. Mikhail exerted tremendous amounts of energy. Do not think that what he accomplished was nothing, Uriel cautions. He is still one of the Sarim, and our greatest hero. Taniel scoffs. Even I could maintain a summons longer than that. The Magog rises from the hole created by Li Gong, growling with fury. Do not fret, beast. You shall now be able to sate your thirst for battle with a true warrior once again. The Magog and Taniel dart across the sky, battling furiously. Each fighter manages to connect with a punch, distorting the faces of the other on impact. Taniel turns, backhanding the Magog to the ground, and unleashes a barrage of energy blasts down upon the beast. Rising up through the smoke, the Magog grabs Taniel by the face and shoves its other arm through its chest. The beast of sin tosses the Yaza to the ground and scans the area for Mikhail to finish him off. Damn that monster! Taniel coughs, blood running from the corners of his mouth. 2 Yazata teleport to his side and begin administering healing magic. This is nothing but a demonstration in how weak we are compared to the Magog. I hate to admit it, but I do not believe that we will be able to stop the Magog on our own. Uriel steps forward to face the Magog again after having regained a little bit of his stamina. We do not give up. Have you lost your pride as a lieutenant of the 7th Choir? Stand back up and continue to fight. Phantom swords appear all around the archie in a halo. Zakura Tensei! He screams as he charges forward. Realm of Sheol, land of Ordeal, the Temple of Maat. The Yazata appear in a vast open chamber within the large temple complex. It is here that the souls of all children and infants are judged according to their purity. The world of man corrupts all souls in time, some faster than others. For those who have not spent as many years in the world, their souls tend to be much more pure and innocent. It is a rare case for a child to have evil in their soul. It is for these rare instances that Ma'at's process of separating those souls from the rest is necessary. A tall, thin woman with black hair pulled back and tied with a cord stands prominently at the room's center. She is slender and lithe, and her skin is caramel in color. Her skin is flawless and bears a gentle, radiant glow, symbolizing the purity and transparency of truth. Her eyes shine with a deep wisdom, reflecting the profound understanding she possesses. She is adorned in flowing white robes with red and gold trim adorned with jewels that drape elegantly around her form. Atop her head is a feather, known as the Feather of Maat, which represents the balance and order she upholds. It is a symbol of truth and justice, and is said to be the ultimate measure against which the hearts of the deceased are weighed in the afterlife. She also has feathered wings colored like a rainbow. Known to mortals as the goddess Maat, she is one of the Aesir, higher beings created long before even the Yazata. Some of the Aesir perform the duties they were assigned at creation, neither seeking glory or worship. Others yearn for the praise and adoration of mortals, to give them even greater power. Maat is an ancient Egyptian goddess who personifies the concept of order, justice, and truth in the universe. She is a regal and graceful figure radiating an aura of serenity and wisdom. Her appearance reflects the harmony and balance she represents. In her hands, Maat holds an Ankh, an ancient Egyptian symbol of life and divine power. This signifies her role as a giver and sustainer of life, as well as her authority over the cosmic order. With the Ankh, she maintains the delicate balance between all aspects of existence. Maat possesses a range of remarkable abilities, all of which align with her role as the goddess of order and justice. She has the power to discern truth from falsehood, able to perceive the genuine nature of individuals and situations. Her wisdom allows her to decipher the complex tapestry of cause and effect, understanding the consequences of actions and the impact on the overall balance of the universe. Ma'at is a purveyor of justice, ensuring that harmony and fairness prevail. She oversees the weighing of the heart ceremony in the afterlife, where she determines the righteousness of the deceased. If the heart is heavy with wrongdoing, it is devoured by the devourer Amet. And if it is light and pure, the soul can proceed to eternal bliss. Furthermore, Ma'at's presence inspires a sense of order and balance in the world. She infuses reality with the essence of truth, fostering an environment where justice prevails and chaos is held at bay. Her influence promotes harmony in both the physical and metaphysical realms, guiding the actions of mortals and deities, alike towards a path of righteousness and equilibrium. Step forward, Ma'at tells a dark-skinned boy from Zenembia. In Sheol, all language is the common language of the Yazata, and all mortals learn it in place of their old tongue upon death. The boy, though frightened, does as he is told. Before the boy is a large set of golden scales with 2 bowls attached. As the boy steps into the lower of the 2 bowls, Maat places one of her feathers in the other. Despite being only a single feather, the bowl sinks to the floor and raises the boy up several inches. Good boy, Ma'at says, pleased. Your soul is lighter than which I am able to judge. Reunite with your loved ones in peace. The boy is escorted by several shades to a canal leading to the river Kawathar, which will then ferry the pure souls to the realm of Paradiso. "Excuse me," Hamradal says, interrupting the proceedings timidly. "Lady Ma'at?" Ma'at looks over at the intrusion. "Yazata," she says without emotion. "It is not customary for your kind to be in this world. The creature known as the Magog has been loosed on the humans. Their sins have made it too strong for any of us to be able to contain. Even the Archie have been proven powerless against the beast." "I am no warrior," Ma'at says. "If you need assistance, you have journeyed here in vain. Your feathers have the power to judge sin. To combat a beast made of sin, you are exactly what we need to see," Tethwal explains. "You wish for some of my feathers?" Ma'at asks, confused. "My power does not absolve sin. It merely recognizes it and weighs that sin against a person's soul. We can find the means to absolve sin, but it is our hope that your feathers could be used to amplify any techniques that we use in that manner," Waruniel explains. Ma'at fondly recalls a time before mortals, when Mikhail and the other Sarim were first created. Long before any of the Sarim moved up to the ranks to become the Archie, they wandered, wide-eyed, and as the first of the Yazata. In the primordial days when celestial beings coexisted in unity, she witnessed the shared purpose and the collective efforts of the angelic realms. Ma'at recalls a time when the angels and the other divine beings worked together, guided by a common vision of maintaining balance and fostering the well-being of both mortals and the cosmos. Their collaborative efforts were a testament to the power of unity and the potential of shared aspirations. In those harmonious days, Ma'at saw the angels as steadfast companions on the path of righteousness. She admired their unwavering devotion to justice, their commitment to upholding the cosmic order, and their embodiment of the divine virtues they represented. She reminisces about the shared moments of camaraderie and cooperation, witnessing the angels' valiant endeavors in protecting and guiding humanity. Their noble actions and selfless service left an indelible mark on Ma'at's heart, deepening her admiration for their unwavering dedication to the principles of truth and righteousness. In those golden days before the conflicts and rivalries that arose with the diversification of belief systems and the proliferation of human followers, Ma'at cherishes the memories of the Yazata and gods working in hand, pooling their collective wisdom and power for the greater good. These memories serve as a reminder of the potential for unity and collaboration among the divine realms, rekindling a longing for a return to those times of shared purpose. The division and strife that later unfolded as gods and goddesses sought to secure the devotion and worship of humanity saddened Ma'at, for it fractured the unity that once bound the celestial beings together, while acknowledging the complexities and nuances of the divine conflict. Ma'at holds steadfast to the belief that the bonds of friendship and the memories of cooperation can serve as beacons of hope, guiding the gods and goddesses back to a harmonious existence where they can unite in their efforts to preserve order and justice. In the depths of her being, Ma'at yearns for a reconciliation, for a return to the unity that existed before the differences and divisions took root. She cherishes the memories of the Yazata as a reminder of the potential for collaboration and collective purpose, a vision that she hopes will one day bring the celestial realms back into alignment and restore the harmonious balance that she holds dear. This is the reason why she remained one of the few Aesir to stay in service to the Creator God, and not go off to gain a following and worshippers of her own. She plucked several feathers from her right wing, wincing with discomfort. "My plumage does not grow back very quickly, so do not waste them," Ma'at says. Hamradal nods, taking the feathers. "Your contribution will not be wasted. If the Magog prevails, my duties here will come to an end. With no humanity, there will be no need for judges," Ma'at says solemnly. "Preserve what remains of mankind, so that they may start over once again." The Yazata vanish, leaving Ma'at to resume her duties. The line to the temple only continues to grow as the human race dwindles. Anshar Realm, world of Halavan. Adonai paces the temple grounds with worry, his back-and-forth movements having worn down the grass into a dirt path. The anxiety of the teenager is palpable, and Hoyles knows that nothing will be gained from keeping him against his wishes any longer. Deep down, he fears that the same outcome is true for Enkidu. You still desire to return to your world, knowing that the Potestas or the Magog may destroy it? Hoyles asks. He prays that he is wrong about the youth and that Adonai will choose to continue his training. If by some miracle Enkidu can teach the teen the Brahmastra, the two of them together could form a powerful alliance against the Magog. Adonai nods. Yes, Master. You say that my village is safe from the Magog for now, but what about days from now? Weeks? Should that beast not be stopped, no one will be safe forever. I cannot leave my people in that kind of danger while I hide away here. Even if I am to die, I prefer it being in the presence of my loved ones. I know it is folly to believe that I could get you ready to face the Magog in this short time when not even Enkidu, who created the Brahmastra, has mastered it, Hoyles admits sadly. While he's relieved that he will be able to see his village again, Adonai cannot help but feel disheartened to hear that his training has all been for naught. The progress that he feels he has made is nothing compared to the power of the seemingly unstoppable Magog. If I had the potential of Enkidu, I could already be fighting the Magog myself, Adonai says, chastising himself. You chose your apprentice poorly, Master. It took Enkidu many years to progress to the point he is now, Doyle says, seeing the teen's disappointment and frustration. The Magog has killed many Seraphim warriors, and even officer-ranked Yazata. Thinking any human could defeat the beast was my own hubris. No, Master, Adonai argues. I have felt the strength within Enkidu myself as our fists connected. Do not lose your faith in him. He will prevail. Adonai has returned to his village, far from the lands currently terrorized by the Magog. Enkidu stands, now unsure of what he must do next. Teaching another the Brahmastra is no longer viable, Doyle says. Now we must focus only on strengthening your own technique. We will return to our previous training, increasing the stakes. I shall deal with the fallout from Gehenna when we are victorious. Enkidu nods, surrounding his body with Yazatan energy. Kishar Realm, Earth. Uriel's eyes glow brightly, and he stands, unfolding his energy wings, and drawing upon his full-release power. The seventh choir never gives up, Uriel says, hundreds of phantom swords materializing all around him in the air. Zakura, Tensei. The Magog is assaulted by a barrage of phantom swords. The creature is able to dodge most of the strikes, but several manage to connect. Skewered, the Magog is unable to move as more and more swords pierce its leathery skin. Yazatan glyphs light up on the blades, revealing a hidden binding spell upon each. Behind you! Taniel shouts. Uriel glances to the side just as the second Magog blindsides him with a kick. The general flips in the air to regain his balance and immediately moves his arms to direct some of the phantom swords to pursue the attacker. The Magog roars, its voice deflecting the swords and pushing Uriel back several feet. Taniel intercepts just as the Magog attempts to stab the stunned general through the chest. 2 or 10 of you, it does not matter, Taniel says, straining to hold the Magog back. Uriel leaps over Taniel, coming down with a sword slash that slices the Magog in two. Taniel thrusts both hands out and releases all of his energy in a huge blast. The Magog's remains become a dark smoke cloud, but before it can reform or find a host, Uriel uses ice magic to crystallize the gaseous state of the enemy. The frozen smoke falls to the ground, where several Yazda run to pick up the pieces and place them in a conjured box of sealing. The original Magog punches down through the swords, keeping it pinned, shaking the entire world. The Yazata maintain the Chronoa spell, struggling to stay focused, the shockwave staggering them. Their stamina draining fast. They're not sure how much longer they can hold on. The Potesta's eyes glow red as their own consciousness seeps into the present time. This is the limit of the time sealing, Uriel says. We cannot bind them any longer. The general is out of breath and holds his chest in pain. "Can we not seal this Magog as we did the other?" Daniel asks, pointing to the sealing box. Uriel shakes his head. "This is the original, and its power is much greater. I do not believe that any sealing box would be strong enough to contain it, if our best binding spells cannot even contain its wrath for longer than a few seconds." The Magog notices that the Potestas are coming too, and decides that it should finish off the remaining Yazata so that it can focus to the more dangerous beings. Rather than toy with its prey, the Magog begins to kill each Yazata it encounters with precise and deadly strikes. Dozens fall in seconds, prompting Uriel into action. If the general does not stop the Magog now, his entire choir will be no more. "Zakura Tensei!" Uriel screams, pushing his body past its limits in order to conjure 1,000 swords in the sky. Throwing both hands forward, the general sends the blades at the Magog, but the beast dodges each, moving closer and closer until it finally connects with a punch that sends Uriel speeding to the side of a mountain, hundreds of miles away. Azreniel and Isradiel appear above the Magog on each side, coming down with diagonal slashes, but the creature catches their blades in its hands and contorts its head into two separate stalks, each ending with a ball of razor-sharp teeth. The mouths rise upwards, biting through the attacking Yazda and devouring half of their bodies in a single bite. Taniel screams, rushing forward, but the two stalks twist together to form one massive mouth that releases a blast of energy that consumes the charging Yazata and causes the entire area to go white. The blast is enormous, devastating the region further. The tremendous winds and shockwaves of energy scatter the members of the Seventh Choir and break their concentration. The Potestas fully awaken into the present time. Mikhail can no longer watch, returning to the battle with fury. He does not care if he lives or dies. He only wishes to see the Magog stop before the planet is destroyed. The Potestas move into place around the Magog, corralling the beast so that it cannot escape an attack from each of them at once. "Stop them!" Mikhail screams. "Do not allow the Potestas to attack!" Several Yazata take the place of their exhausted comrades, resuming the Chronoa sealing spell. Once again, the Potestas are bound in a single moment of time. Free to do whatever it wants, the Magog darts high up into the air and begins collecting negative energy together into a single black mass. "Everyone attack now!" Uriel screams. "That blast will be as dangerous as one released by a Potestas." The Magog dodges coordinated strikes from the Yazda, quickly moving like a blur, so that each sword seemingly passes through an intangible object. Uriel focuses energy into his blade, waiting for his soldiers to move before he unleashes a massive strike. "Antharda! Astra!" Uriel screams, releasing a wave of energy with the potential of destroying entire continents. The Magog catches the energy and manages to deflect it into the sky, before darting behind Uriel and delivering a devastating blow to the back. The general collapses, losing consciousness. Seeing his superior fall, Taniel flashes above the Magog and attempts a downward stab. The Magog evades, grabbing the Yazda's wrist and connecting with an elbow that sends Taniel to join Uriel on the ground in slumber. Not yet recovered, Mikhail knows that if he does not act, the Magog will disrupt the spell, immobilizing the Potestas, and set in motion the end of the world. "Creonle!" Mikhail shouts, boosting his speed at the cost of damage to his own body, even if the cost is high. In his current state, Mikhail will not be able to land a single blow on the Magog. Mikhail rushes the Magog, but his movements are still slow, and the creature evades him with ease. After being struck across the face, Mikhail spins back with blood trailing from his nose. "Creonle!" Mikhail again shouts, further boosting his speed. Steam rises from the Arche's armor as the heat of his body becomes great. His flesh begins to separate and tear, but he fights the pain, keeping his focus only on the battle at hand. "Creonle!" Darting forward like a rocket, Mikhail attacks with a horizontal sword slash. The Magog evades, but Mikhail follows up with an uppercut to the stomach with his other arm. The blow catches the Magog by surprise, causing the creature's eyes to bulge. Mikhail screams, grabbing his sword with both hands and coming down across the Magog's head with a powerful slash. The Magog is cut in two, each half falling to the side. Mikhail drops into a crouch and sheathes his sword before throwing both hands out, and consuming the two sections of his foe in a wall of energy. Mikhail's chest heaves, and he continuously fights to keep his eyes open. He releases the Creonle enhancement before the spell kills him. The Magog emerges from the smoke of Mikhail's blast, not only unharmed, but also restored. Mikhail screams out in pain as the Magog blocks his next punch and retaliates with an elbow to the chest. Blood and saliva spew from the Arche's mouth, and he staggers backward. The Magog transforms an arm into an elongated blade, and it swings from Mikhail's neck, but the Arche manages to fire a pulse of energy into the beast's chest and push it back. Dropping to a knee, Mikhail gasps from exhaustion. He clutches his chest as blood drools from his lips. The Magog walks forward, already shaking off the blast like it was nothing. Using his sword to push himself erect, Mikhail prepares for what he believes will be his final exchange with the Magog. "Things did not work out as well as I had hoped," Mikhail says with regret. "I really wanted to save this world. It is a truly beautiful place." The Magog grins, extending both arms into sharp blades. As the creature advances, Mikhail slices open the palm of his free hand and holds it outward. Each drop of blood turns to steam as it hits the ground, initiating a golden spell array around both Mikhail and the Magog. "Exu Prosojion," Mikhail screams, channeling his life force into the blood magic. At the cost of his life, the Arche intends to give more than double the amount of his energy into a single massive explosion. "I will give my life, if that's what it takes to stop you." A third blade emerges from the ground behind Mikhail, slicing him up the length of his back. The Arche falls forward, unable to move his arms to stop himself. "I failed," Mikhail thinks as he falls to the ground. "I did all I could, but it was not enough." The Magog stands over Mikhail, preparing to stab downward and end his life when the faint sound akin to a zipper is heard. A bright flash of light follows, catching the Magog by surprise. "General!" Waruniel shouts, teleporting in front of Mikhail in a flash of light alongside Tethwal and Hamradal. Not wasting the opportunity, Tethwal slices his blade down through the Magog's wrists and severs them while Hamradal teleports their general to safety. "Garuda Nostra!" Tethwal shouts, throwing both arms out and sending the Magog flying backwards with conjured winds. The Magog regains its balance and quickly begins to walk through the winds, moving closer to Tethwal until it is able to strike with an elongated arm. Tethwal is slapped across the face, the force of the strike nearly sending him immediately into unconsciousness. The Seraphim fights to remain awake, shaking off the attack and retaliating with more wind magic. Mikhail is relieved to see that his subordinates are still alive. "What news do you bring me?" "Purification," Waruniel says. "You can weaken the Magog by removing the sin that gives it power." Mikhail realizes with horror that the Creator could stop the Magog in an instant by absolving all of its sin, yet hasn't. Why is he letting this happen? Mikhail wonders. None of us can pardon large amounts of sin, but our blades can be enchanted to purify some on contact. Little by little, we can bring the Magog down to a manageable level. Waruniel continues. There are also abilities designed for purifying negative energy. Hamradal adds, I know of a few techniques, but I am not very proficient. Enkidu, Mikhail shouts with realization. It has had to be him all along. That is the Creator's plan. The others are confused. What do you mean? What does Hoyle's pet have to do with this? Hamradal asks. Enkidu has an ability that can deal proportional damage to an energy, according to their negative energy. It was as if he was born specifically to combat the Magog. He has already fought against the Magog and failed, Hamradal argues. His ability must not be that effective. We cannot rely on a human, with no evidence of his having gotten stronger in such a short time, Hamradal says. I will personally meet with the human and bring out his full potential. Mikhail looks on as the Yazda of the 7th Choir desperately try to fight against the Magog. I believe this is what the Creator intends. And if you are wrong, Amradal asks, then we have no choice left but for the Potestas to destroy this world. The Magog presses a foot down on the skull of an injured Yazata, relishing the pain's screams as it increases pressure. Around them, dozens of other Seraphim Yazata lie motionless or struggling to move. Many are dying of wounds that could be healed if only other Yazata had the strength remaining in them to give aid. Seeing his choirs decimated, Uriel withdraws a Dahu skin horn and blows loudly, summoning members from the 4th Choir as support. Please, Uriel begs, tend to the wounded. The 4th Choir moves quickly, flashing across the battlefield to retrieve anyone they can and return them to their mansion for treatment. The Magog growls angrily, as only a handful of Yazda now remain to keep it entertained. Those maintaining the Chronoa spell struggle to stay conscious, their stamina all but gone. Do you have any surprises left? Taniel coughs, himself struggling to remain conscious after his own fatigue and injuries. I do not believe that I could even Shunkonito at this point, Uriel says with a sad smile. It appears we have done all that we can. Tethwal's body drops beside them, covered with blood. He is not moving. The others look up to see the Magog hovering over them with rage in its eyes. Aginestra! Ahura! Uriel screams, consuming the Magog with a massive fireball. Even though he does not have any strength remaining, the fiercely loyal warrior draws upon his own life force for the attack. Taniel stands beside his general, unleashing the same powerful spell. Together, the 2 strongest members of the 7th Choir hold the Magog at bay. Are you asleep? Uriel shouts to the members of the 4th Choir that remain. Heal the rest of them already! Apologies, Barachiel says, materializing beside Mikhail. I'm not as quick as you, I'm afraid. You have my thanks, General, Mikhail says, standing up after his body and stamina are both restored to full. How bad are our losses? Barachiel shakes his head. Bad. We have lost more of our number today to the Magog than against both Sane and Sataniel combined. We did all that we could, but it was too late for many. Several Yazda of the 4th Choir work together to heal Tethwal, despite their own bodies being past the brink of exhaustion. They do not stop so long as they are still injured lying about in need of aid. They will not be the last, I fear, Mikhail sighs. Here, I almost forgot, Warunil says, handing Mikhail Ma'at's feathers. Feathers? Mikhail asks, confused. The steward of the Erelim says that these feathers may be able to amplify a purification technique. Perhaps you can give them to Enkidu to boost his attack to a level that may help us. We have a chance, Mikhail says, clutching the feathers in his fist tightly. I must not delay. If the Potestas awaken before our plan is complete, all will be lost. Anshar Realm, World of Holoben. Please, Enkidu begs. The world is being destroyed by the Magog, and I am not becoming any stronger. The Yazata are out there dying in battle, when it's not even their world they are trying to protect. I understand your frustration, but you are just not ready. If you cannot purify Gollum with the sins of even 13 men, how can you hope to defeat a monster fueled by millions? That does not concern me. I must try again. You were lucky to have survived the Magog once, let alone twice. Do you really think that you are invincible to try and test a 3rd time in battle? Make no mistake, you will be killed if you face the Magog again. I should be on that battlefield. I do not know what else I can say that will convince you. Hoyles looks over at Haida. Tell him this is madness. He will not listen to reason. I do not want him to go back into battle. but it is a choice he must make himself. I know the blood of a warrior flows through his veins, and I dare not try to get in the way of that, she replies. Hoyle groans loudly with frustration. Stubborn primates, the lot of you! How much sin was contained in each of the conjuries you defeated? A voice asks from behind. Enkidu turns, having never heard nor sensed the figure appear. The highest I reached was 12. Mikhail seems disappointed. Is that all? He turns to Hoyles. You have been going far too easy on him. With all the time that you have spent here training, he should be able to purify hundreds of souls at once. Our brothers are dying out there while this human trains at the pace of a toddler. I do not know who you are, but you cannot come here and speak to us in this manner, Enkidu says angrily. Master Hoyles is doing everything that he can. The fault lies solely with me. You should be pushed harder. Hoyles has a tendency to care for his pledges too much, rather than doing what needs to be done to get results. I came here to escort a powerful warrior into battle, but you are hardly the strongest human I have ever seen. Enkidu draws Zyle's weapon and tenses, preparing for battle. Mikhail begins to laugh before drawing his own sword. How amusing. He thinks that he is in a position to challenge me. Enkidu, stand down, Doyle says. The man begins to protest, but is silenced. You will address General Mikhail with respect. He is among our fiercest warriors and best tacticians. He is also highest among the Sarum princes. Mikhail, Enkidu whispers. The archer who defeated both Sane and Sataniel in battle? Hoyles nods. The very same. If he has come to speak to you, it must be of the utmost importance. I have considered your plans to give Enkidu more time, but the Magog is stronger than any of us could have ever feared. The Betestas cannot be held at bay much longer. If we do not attack now with all of our might, the entire world would be lost, Mikhail explains. He is not ready, Hoyles argues. The Magog will merely shrug off even his most powerful Brahmastra. That is not our concern. Enkidu need not be the one to deliver the final blow. He just needs to burn off enough of the Magog's stored energy for the rest of us to land critical strikes. If he can weaken the Magog with his purification, Uriel and I should be able to destroy the creature with a combined assault. Enkidu sheathes his sword and steps up before Mikhail. Come on, let us go now. I have been begging Master Hoyles to send me back into battle. Mikhail places a hand on Enkidu's shoulder. Then we need not waste any more time. When we arrive, however, you will follow all of my instructions without question. Enkidu nods, and they vanish in a flash of light, leaving Hoyles to his protests. Haida steps up beside the Hashmalan. Do not worry. I know they will succeed. As Enkidu departs, his teacher stands alone, his heart heavy with a mixture of fear and hope. He prays that the Yazata's desperate gamble will prove successful, that Enkidu's untested spirit will rise to the challenge, emerging stronger and triumphant. Hoyles is silent. In his heart, the Hashmalan fears the opposite to be true. He questions whether Enkidu is truly prepared for the perilous task that awaits him. He wonders if he has adequately prepared his student to face the malevolent force of the Magog and the overwhelming odds that lie ahead. Doubts assail his thoughts, fueling his concerns for Enkidu's safety and the potential toll this battle could take on his protege's spirit. Deep down, the teacher understands the dire consequences that have prompted Mikhail's urgency. The looming threat of the Magog and the desperate need for additional assistance weigh heavily on his mind. He recognizes the gravity of the situation and the tremendous stakes at hand. However, despite this understanding, the teacher also feels a deep-rooted attachment to Enkidu, a bond forged through their shared experiences and the time spent honing his skills. He knows that Enkidu's journey towards harnessing his angelic ancestral power is not yet complete, and that prematurely thrusting him into battle may see him killed. I pray that you are right, Hoyles whispers. For all of humanity's sake. If Enkidu dies, there is no one else left. That will be the end of mankind. Kishar realm, Earth. Materializing in the middle of a war zone, Enkidu is instantly thrown into the chaos. Explosions erupt all around and rocks and dirt sting his face. A Yazata crashes to the ground at his feet, its body twisted and mangled. With its eyes rolled back and tongue lolling, Enkidu knows that the Yazata is dead. He both marvels and fears the power that can kill such beings as the Yazata. "Stay moving!" Mikhail shouts. "Do not tarry in one place too long!" An explosion suddenly blooms between them, knocking both fighters in opposite directions. When Enkidu comes to, Mikhail is nowhere to be found. "You!" a Yazata shouts, ducking beneath a beam of energy that explodes behind. "Mortal, what are you doing here? This place is too dangerous for your kind." "I came to lend my aid," Enkidu replies. The explosions resounding through the air make him impossible to hear. "What?" the Yazata shouts, his ears ringing. "I said that I came to help," Enkidu shouts. The Yazata is suddenly caught by a burst of stray energy and is no more. Enkidu backs away in horror. "What have I gotten myself into?" he thinks. Death and destruction span as far as the eye can see in all directions. The Magog clearly has the upper hand on the Yazata. Another Yazata approaches, this one bearing the blue sash around his arm indicating the rank of a lieutenant. "You are Enkidu," Sachiel, lieutenant of the 9th Choir, growls. "I was under the assumption that you were training on the world of Holoven." "I could no longer stand by letting others fight in my stead." Sachiel shakes his head with annoyance. "Prideful creature! You honestly believe that you can affect this battle whatsoever? Our strongest have stood up to the Magog and been brought low." Enkidu is offended. "Would you rather I hide off-world like a coward?" Sachiel deflects a stray energy blast with his sword, not taking his eyes off Enkidu. "I would rather you complete your training so that you could be of actual use to us, should our efforts here fail completely. This world was entrusted to my people to protect long ago by God," Enkidu argues. "I cannot stand by and let others fight on my behalf." "You are far more hard-headed than I ever imagined," Sachiel laments. "I must return you to Holoven to complete your training. Standing here, I can sense that you are no stronger than even a 6th Fleet officer." "I refuse," Enkidu shouts. "I am not running away again." "Enough," Mikhail says. "It was I who brought this man here." "You?" Sachiel is surprised. "Why?" "Do you question my decision as general of the 1st Choir?" Mikhail challenges. Sachiel backs down. "No, sir, not at all." The Magog appears above them, eyes aflame with a thirst for mayhem. Mikhail dives forward, tackling Enkidu and teleporting away, just as the beast releases a massive burst of energy downwards. Sachiel materializes beside the two. "Do you see now? He would have died if you had not saved him. He is not ready to stand against that monster." "That is my burden to bear, Lieutenant," Mikhail growls. "Go and fetch Uriel, and tell him to find me. I have a plan that I will require his assistance in executing." It does not take the Magog long to track where his foes teleported. Several Yazata attack with furious assaults, but the creature ignores them. The Magog's only focus is Enkidu and Mikhail. "Damn," Mikhail curses. "I think it remembers you." Enkidu is confused. "What do you mean?" "You have fought the creature before, but has been unable to finish you off. For a beast designed to destroy, your continued existence is an insult. It will not relent until you are dead." The Magog howls, extending its aura in a bright flare that knocks aside all of the attacking Yazata. The creature darts down quickly, grabbing Mikhail by the face and slamming him into the ground. Enkidu draws his sword and moves on 1 foot forward before the Magog is already on him with a fist to the gut. Enkidu doubles over, vomiting blood and saliva. He can barely breathe, darkness slowly closing in around his consciousness. Mikhail lifts his head, shaking and struggling to move. "Our last hope was nothing but a fantasy. This world is done for." Fighting against the pain, Enkidu reaches down and grabs the Magog's arm. The creature does not know how to react, surprised that the man is able to move at all. Enkidu's free hand glows brightly with a blue light just before he delivers a crushing blow to the Magog's jaw. Powered by the Brahmastra technique, Enkidu's punch purifies on contact and deals tremendous damage. Amazing, Mikhail thinks. He actually managed to harm the creature. The Magog becomes angry, having to consciously force itself to heal after Enkidu's punch. With a sudden backhand, Enkidu is knocked to the ground where he does not move. Despite his attacks being boosted, the man's defense is nowhere near the level of being able to withstand the Magog's attacks. Several Yazda try to intercept and shield Enkidu while another takes him to safety. Barachiel kneels beside Enkidu, fingers on his neck. He still lives. Heal him, Mikhail says. This human must survive. Our energy is all running low. Is it really wise to waste our remaining resources on healing a human? Barachiel asks. The healing of a human does not require much stamina. Are you telling me that you are that depleted? Barachiel sighs, touching a single finger to Enkidu's forehead and restoring him to full health and stamina. It is done. You saved me, Enkidu whispers. Thank you. There's no time for that, Mikhail growls. You have a job to do. Enkidu nods. Once again I have survived when I should not have. The Magog is truly too powerful for a mortal to face. None of us have been able to vanquish that beast. Cease your pity, Mikhail orders. Your Brahmastra is the only hope we have of weakening the Magog enough for me and Uriel to deliver a final blow. Can you do this? I must, Enkidu replies. I never give up. Mikhail hands him the feathers of Ma'at. These are from the Aesir known as Ma'at. They have an ability that weighs sin. I do not understand. Enkidu is not sure who this Aesir even is, let alone the significance of their feathers. If you hold the feathers of Ma'at while you perform the Brahmastra, your attack will increase greatly. Now, we will create an opening. You then strike with everything you have. The Yazda disperse, leaving Enkidu alone and confused. He looks at the feathers in his hand, doubting how they could ever be used to strengthen the Brahmastra. Mikhail hits the Magog in the back with a burst of Agnestra magical fire. As the creature turns, Tethwal and Hamradal release a binding spell made up of thousands of interconnecting spiderwebs of energy. The Magog becomes entangled, unable to move. Now! Mikhail shouts. What are you waiting for? Enkidu runs towards them, but the Magog is already breaking free of its bonds. A transformed arm extends outwards, piercing Hamradal through the chest. The Magog slams the Yazda to the ground and thrashes free from the magical webs, catching Tethwal across the face. Mikhail rushes with lightning-fast slashes, but the Magog drops him with an extended leg to the gut. It is no good, Mikhail coughs, doubling over. We're in no position to create an opening. Even if we were able, you would not have the strength remaining to finish off the Magog, Hamradal adds, holding his chest. He consumes his wound with Dukan Hela's healing magic, leaving a single hole remaining in his armor. The Magog stands on Tethwal's chest, causing the Yazda to scream out in pain. The creature's arm transforms into a curved blade, and it drops it down across Tethwal's throat before any of his comrades are able to react. Damn it! Mikhail curses, pounding his fists against the ground. I should have just allowed the Potestas to act unhindered and destroy this world. All of their deaths are on me. Tanuel attacks the Magog from above, screaming wildly as he comes down with his sword. The Magog extends several tendrils upward, impaling the Seraphim warrior with little effort. The lieutenant drops to the ground, writhing in agony. Uriel begins to chant, a shining halo of light materializing behind him. Bands of light extend from the halo, forming a massive display. Mahesha Warastastra, Uriel growls, closing his eyes and materializing a third eye between them. Light explodes from the enlightened eye, obliterating the Magog. As the Magog's body slowly reforms, Uriel holds his hands out and materializes two golden axes. Parashu! Uriel strikes the Magog again and again with the axes, keeping the beast from fully rejuvenating. I do not belong here. Enkidu thinks with shame. I am nowhere near the level of these titans. Mikhail rushes forward and throws his hands out, blasting the Magog with a pulse of Agonastra fire. Together, the two generals furiously hack away at the Magog, causing the beast to continuously burn energy to repair the damage. The battle becomes a struggle to see whose stamina runs out first. What are you doing, just standing there and gawking? Hamradal asks. He's still angry at the death of his friend Tethwal. You should be helping them. Hamradal leaps into the battle, teleporting behind the Magog and binding his feet with magical chains. Taniel slowly stands, his body still covered with bleeding puncture wounds. And Hardha, Astra, Taniel screams, releasing the continent-busting strength blast. The Yazda work together, wearing the Magog down, knowing this is their last shot. Enkidu runs forward, sliding between a Yazda blast and rolling into the Magog with a kick to the chest. The Magog attacks with a transformed arm, but a Yazdan sword severs the limb, allowing Enkidu to strike with a Brahmastra to the beast's exposed chest. The Magog howls with pain as black smoke rises off its body. Whipping its other arm around, the Magog clears its enemies away for a moment and leaps back in an attempt to recover. Hamradal's magical chains shatter and the feedback knocks the Yazata to the ground. Stay on it! Mikhail screams. Keep attacking! Our plan is working. The Magog is weakening. Charging forward, Enkidu ducks beneath a wild swing from the Magog and delivers a Brahmastra-charged uppercut. The beast howls in pain and extends its lower jaw to devour the man, but Uriel and Mikhail attack from opposite sides, driving their swords through the creature's face. Enkidu hammers the creature's chest with hard blows, burning the Magog's leathery flesh with each touch. The generals leap away as other Yazda take their place in an attack. The Magog releases a shockwave of energy, clearing away its tormentors. So this is the human that Hoyles is placing so much faith in, Uriel asks, looking Enkidu over. Mikhail nods. I've seen this human's ability, and it is crucial to our success if we want to stop the Magog without destroying the entire planet in the process. Should we not just abandon this world and allow the Potestas to do their job? Taniel asks in irritation. Enkidu is the only human to have fought the Magog and survived. I do not believe that God would allow him to escape without there being a purpose behind it. Our support should be given towards letting humanity defeat the enemy they themselves created. Taniel scoffs. Humans are not unlike cockroaches in their ability to survive. He leaves the generals to strategize and rejoins the battle, where he feels he belongs. I believe now is as good a time as any to tell you my plan, Mikhail says. Uriel's eyebrows raise. Plan? And here I thought you were winging it. We should conserve our energy and allow the others to wear down the Magog. Enkidu's purification technique will continue to drain the Magog of energy. When the time is right, you and I shall unleash hell on that monster and put an end to this madness. I do not like the idea of standing by while others fight, but the promise of being able to deliver a final blow to the Magog is enticing. We shall wait and then strike. The Magog throws both hands to the ground and releases its energy, causing the entire area to become a deep crater. Before anyone can recover, the Magog extends an arm to grab Enkidu by the throat and pull him in close towards another arm transformed into a spear. Taniel shakes off the pulse wave and flashes to the Magog's flank, but is grabbed by a third arm. Hamradal and a 7th choir Yazda named Pashal drop in from above, but 2 more spear-like protrusions extend upward to meet them. The Yazda scream in pain as their armor is easily penetrated, and they are impaled. The Magog flings the wounded into a group of 3 more 7th choir Yazda as they rush in to attack. Taniel whispers a quick chant under his breath and extends a hand towards the Magog, exploding the arm holding him, where it connects to the creature's body. Immediately, Taniel teleports to Enkidu and severs the Magog's arm, grabbing the man and jumping away with another teleportation. The Magog recovers, growling with fury. Saliva oozes from the creature's jaws, and it becomes more feral and vicious than ever before. Now the Magog knows that it is not invincible. Taniel pushes Enkidu aside, angered that he is having to fight side by side a human. Rushing the Magog, the lieutenant attacks with fast strikes, but each move is blocked by appendages hardened into a compound more durable than even a Yazatan diamond sword. Two Yazata attack from the side, but the Magog twists its head around to release a mouth-fired blast of negative energy. The Yazata barely avoid the blast, flashing out of the way. As the black energy explodes in the distance, the Magog manages to strike Taniel across the face and send him crashing to the ground. Enkidu slips in behind, driving an elbow into the center of the creature's back. The Magog again twists its head, firing an energy blast from its mouth at Enkidu's face. Without Shinkonito, Enkidu is caught by the full brunt of the attack. The man drops to the ground, smoke rolling off his front. "Get up," Mikhail whispers, fighting the urge to interfere. If they attack too early, the Magog will survive and counter, leaving them no way to defend. He and Uriel must exercise patience and wait for the perfect time to strike. Taniel trips the Magog with conjured chains just as two other Yazata drive their swords down through its back, pinning the creature to the ground. The Magog extends multiple spear protrusions, stabbing the Yazata through their chests, arms, and midsections. The Yazata scream out in pain, but are silenced as the Magog spreads the appendages out, reducing them to hundreds of bloody pieces. Enkidu begins to stir, clawing at the dirt and willing himself to stand. The pain is unbearable, but he knows that giving up is not an option. A faint blue glow encircles the man, causing the Yazata observing him to pause. "That is not mortal energy," Uriel whispers. "That human has Yazatan energy." Is that what Hoyles was intending with Enkidu's training? If he could master the power with his Brahmastra, is it possible he becomes strong enough to defeat the Magog on his own? Mikhail thinks. Enkidu leaps at the Magog, stomping down on the creature's neck. The Magog buckles, sinking deep into the ground. Enkidu begins to rain fists down upon his foe, each strike powered by Yazatan energy and focused into the Brahmastra. The Magog attempts to impale Enkidu with spear protrusions, but the man swipes them away with his hand and reduces each to ash with a touch. The Magog's body smokes badly as each blow it receives removes energy and leaves behind only pain. The creature pushes its energy out in a desperate scream, knocking Enkidu back. The ground splits and the Yazata nearby all stumble. The Magog rises from the fissure, snarling and frothing at the mouth. Taniel takes a step forward to attack, but the Magog throws a hand down and releases a massive negative energy blast that consumes the entire area in flames. The Yazata teleport to a safe distance, Hamradal quickly leaping to Enkidu and touching a hand to his shoulder before using Shinkonito. Forced to evade the Magog's blast, the Yazata maintaining the Chronoa spell break their concentration for a fleeting moment. But that moment is all it takes. "Seal the Potestas!" Mikhail screams. "The Chronoa spell is no longer active!" A pulse of energy erupts from the mouth of a Potestas, disintegrating everything before it. The energy is as strong as a solar flare, and the earth is charred black for miles. Feedback slams into the Yazata who perform the spell, knocking them to the ground. Another line of Yazata step forward immediately, erecting a magical barrier. Stone rises to block the Potesta's path, but soon that stone becomes encased in a thick metallic coat to further strengthen it. Surrounding the metal, smaller satellites of a similar composition orbit and emit flashes of energy, meant to negate that of the Potestas. The Potestas releases another burst of energy from its mouth. The nearest satellite nullifies the blast with a pulse of oppositely charged particles. A second Potestas attacks, overloading the satellite and causing it to explode violently. The air around the barrier catches fire, creating a deadly tornado of flame. "Keep them subdued," Mikhail orders. The Yazata are beginning to tire, yet they continue to reinforce the barriers and raise new ones. While the destroyers are kept busy, Enkidu struggles to inflict any lasting damage on the Magog. Powered by human sin, the Magog has near limitless reserves of energy to draw upon. When the Magog was previously sealed, the threshold of sin that it could contain was increased. Raising the capacity of sin causes the Magog to become stronger each time it breaks through the limitations and is unleashed. Enkidu slashes diagonally with his sword, but the creature catches the blade between its claws. He strains to free his weapon, but the Magog is far more powerful. The creature grins, enjoying the pain on Enkidu's face. Enkidu throws out his other hand, releasing a burst of energy that obliterates the Magog's head and most of its torso. Without being a living entity or having any organs, an attack such as this merely depletes the Magog's stamina by forcing it to repair itself. Still mutilated, the Magog delivers a hard knee to Enkidu's chest. The blow drives the air from the man's lungs and nearly makes him drop his sword. The Magog's right arm reforms, elongating and striking Enkidu across the face. Spinning in an uncontrollable corkscrew, Enkidu fights to keep from being overcome by the waves of nausea washing over him. The Magog lunges, striking with a rapid succession of body punches. Enkidu screams, feeling the tremendous force of each blow reverberating throughout him. Reaching up, Enkidu manages to grab the Magog's arm and hurl him down into the ground. Dirt explodes up into the air as the Magog sinks into a deep crater. Enkidu lands beside the crater's edge, relieved to be back on the ground. He is not used to flight, and the unnatural feel of it throws him off. The Magog's arms emerge from the ground below Enkidu as long spears, and the man narrowly avoids impalement. Enkidu holds his right arm, wincing in pain. Blood steadily drips from the wound, splashing at his feet. The human is losing, Ravaniel says, taking his turn to rest from spellcasting as the next line steps up. Mikhail does not respond, instead watching the battle with increased intention. Should his confidence in Enkidu be misplaced, the human race is doomed. Emerging from the crater, the Magog lands beside Enkidu with a large grin. Enkidu tightly grips his sword with anger. He is not as skilled with his left hand, but the creature's previous attacks have left him without an alternative. You have such frightening power, Enkidu concedes. If you possessed a reasonable mind, perhaps you could be swayed from this path. The Magog merely scowls. Enkidu tries to correctly balance his sword in his left hand, hoping for it to miraculously feel more comfortable. It does not. Had I enough time to prepare for you, maybe this would have gone differently, Enkidu says sorrowfully. He has accepted this battle will be his last. Enkidu's sword begins to glow brightly, as Yazatan glyphs on the blade illuminate. Enkidu glances back at the Seraphim, seeing Mikhail lowering his arms. The Seraph nods in acknowledgement, and Enkidu readies himself for a final assault. You are stronger than any being should ever be, Enkidu says, causing the Magog to grin even wider. The creature's smile spreads far, and then it begins to wrap around the sides of its head. Strength from evil, however, is not strength to be admired. The Magog hisses and leaps at Enkidu with a slash. The man brings his sword up swiftly to block, cleaving the beast's arm at the wrist. The Magog pivots, thrusting its other arm towards Enkidu's chest while transforming it into a spear. Reacting on instinct, Enkidu turns to his side and takes the attack through his right shoulder. The pain isn't as bad as he would think that it would be due to already overwhelming agony of the previous attacks. Countering, Enkidu slashes his sword diagonally through the Magog's torso. The swing loses traction halfway into its target, and the creature reaches up to grab Enkidu's wrist with a reformed hand. The symbols on Enkidu's sword flash brightly, pulsating as Yazatan enchantments activate. Smoke rises from the Magog's wounds, and it howls with frustration when it realizes that it is unable to repair the damage immediately. This is my only chance, Enkidu thinks, taking a deep breath. The Magog releases its grip, focusing on trying to remove the sword from its chest. A rush of blue energy encircles Enkidu, and his hair stands on end. Electrical sparks dance all around his body. Brahmastra! Enkidu shouts, letting go of the sword and holding its palm out towards the Magog. A swirling orb of pulsating light collects in Enkidu's hand, and the Magog's eyes widen in what could only be interpreted as fear. I was not sure that you were capable of such emotion, Enkidu says, his voice deepening and under great strain. The Magog howls, ripping the sword the rest of the way through its body and cleaving itself in two. Behind Enkidu, two white energy wings explode outwards as he releases the attack just as the Magog is severed, catching only the upper portion of its body with the attack. Made of pure sin, the Magog is obliterated by the spell that increases damage by the amount of evil encountered. The bottom half of the Magog collapses to the ground motionless. Enkidu coughs, dropping to a knee. I have to hit this creature one more time. He tries to motivate himself, but finds he has nothing left to give. The Magog quivers, beginning to reform. Mikhail moves to rush in and finish the beast if possible, when suddenly the Bethesdas break through the barriers. The energy feedback scatters the Yazatan warriors, breaking their formation. "Quickly!" Mikhail screams, thrust back into command of his troops, and abandons his plan with Uriel. "Erect another barrier!" The Bethesdas hum with a metallic resonance as they build energy. Massive hands raise, aiming directly at the Yazata. Mikhail's eyes widen with terror. "Evade!" he screams as the entire area goes white. A mushroom cloud rises to the sky as everything for miles is consumed in an explosion the likes of which the planet has never before seen. Forests evaporate, and the blast leaves a massive hole. Using Shunkonito, Mikhail grabs Enkidu before he is hit by the several hundred-foot wall of energy that swells the shock waves out from the blast. Appearing beyond the effects of the explosion, Mikhail sets Enkidu at his feet and consumes his body in the glowing radiance of Dukan Helez. The sky has already become black as the clouds choke with ash and block out all sunlight. "I failed again," Enkidu whispers with shame. "We all failed," Mikhail reassures him. "My forces were unable to hold off the Bethesdas long enough for you to finish the Magog." "The other Yazata, were they killed?" Enkidu asks hesitantly. Mikhail shakes his head. "I do not know. I cannot sense their presence." He looks out at the still billowing cloud of flame expanding outwards. "Perhaps my senses are being affected by the explosion." The Bethesdas ignore the flames and shock waves, scooping up debris in their hands and sifting through their fingers to search for the Magog's remains. "Will they leave if they think it was destroyed?" Enkidu asks. Mikhail hesitates. "The Bethesdas will wipe out the remainder of human civilization as punishment for the Magog being awoken early. They are programmed to ensure that humanity must always start over anew after each cycle of the Magog. There are innocent people still out there. I cannot allow the Bethesdas to kill them." "You could not stop the Magog. Why do you think you could do anything against the Bethesdas? As a unit, they are the most powerful beings in creation. Even the Magog cannot withstand their full power. Without us around trying to hold them back, the Bethesdas would have obliterated this area long ago and left not even vapors of that beast. At the cost of all life on this world. That's unacceptable. It is not your place to make that decision, human." "How can you say such a thing? You defied orders to give me a fighting chance against the Magog." "And you see the result of my poor judgment," Mikhail says sadly. Enkidu is about to respond when something in the corner of his vision moves quickly. "It still lives," he shouts in surprise. The Magog leaps onto the arm of Bethesdas and dashes up the length of the appendage before transforming both hands into scythes. Slicing the Bethesda's neck, the Magog releases a geyser of nuclear energy with a result similar to that of a popped water balloon. The Bethesdas flails as its power source rapidly drains. Unable to stop the leak, the destroyer collapses to the earth, a toppled obelisk. Mikhail is in shock. It killed a Bethesdas. The other destroyers converge on the Magog, firing bursts of energy that pockmark the terrain with fiery explosions. The creature darts around, evading the attacks and the ensuing explosions. "Even if we succeed at this rate, there will be no life left on this world to save," Enkidu says with anger and regret. He curses his inability to defeat the Magog while he had the chance. If only he had been able to transform into a Sarai and utilize his full Yazata power right from the start of the battle. Because of him, all humanity is doomed to extinction. A Bethesdas manages to slap the Magog out of the air, slamming it down to the earth, where it splits the ground into a deep canyon. The remnants of the nearby mountain range is swallowed by the canyon, entombing the Magog. The Bethesdas converge, each holding their hands down towards the rubble and unleashing the energy of a powerful solar flare. The ground for miles is burned to ash. The air itself bursts into flames. The energy plows through the earth and emerges from the other side, disappearing out into space. Every volcano on the planet becomes active, and the fault lines spew forth molten lava as the world becomes unstable. The Potestas hit the planetary core with their attacks, Mikhail observes. This world may come to an end soon, I am afraid. Is there anything that you can do? Some magic that can repair this world? Enkidu asks, trying not to panic. Mikhail shakes his head. We Yazata are not creators. Only the Lord of all can restore a dying world. Our power of restoration is limited to resurrecting a handful of singular lives at any given time. Together, we should be able to bring back much of the plant and animal life, but because of the nature of the Magog, God would never permit us to revive the humans that it killed. Innocent people were killed, children and good men and women, God-fearing people that had nothing to do with the evil that breathed life into the Magog. I understand your feelings, but I cannot go against the will of the Creator. Because the Magog is driven by human sin, it is humanity that must pay the price for its rampage. This is not some divine punishment. This is extermination. Do you truly wish to see our extinction? Your female is safe on Halavan, and we shall bring you to be with her when I am certain that we can do no more here. Humanity shall be preserved as long as a single male and female exist. We have experienced situations similar to this in the past. The species will continue on as God has promised. What about my nephew, Galen? What about all the other children and good people? Will you just let them die? Enkidu is furious with the celestial being's inability to experience human emotions in the same way. If it were his own people being massacred, Enkidu wonders if the Yazda would see things differently. I have no authority to change the will of God, and I dare not attempt to do so, Mikhail says sternly. Did he explicitly say to let all the humans except 2 die? I do not believe that he did. You're already interpreting his will. You made the decision to allow me a chance to defeat the Magog. Was that too his will? And you failed, Mikhail screams in anger. I gambled on you, and you were unable to succeed. I can do nothing further. The Magog stops dodging attacks this time, turning to take a 2-handed blast head-on. The nuclear energy slams into the Magog, but rather than reduce him into atoms, this time the beast is able to suck into the blast like a large chest full of air. With a single hiccup, the Magog nullifies the explosion. Smoke escapes the beast's lips and it grins, realizing its new power. No! Mikhail shouts. How can that creature continue to grow in strength? It should be burning through all the sin that created it. The Magog's peak strength should have been demonstrated immediately upon its release. Yet it is much stronger now than ever before. As I fought it, I could feel the beast gaining energy. I tired while it only became stronger, Enkidu says. That does not make any sense. The Magog has never been able to grow stronger over time, only weaker. Did the other battles ever last this long? Mikhail pauses, trying to remember. I do not believe so, no. The Potestas made rather short work of the beast in the past. Then we may still not yet know the full extent of the Magog's strength and abilities. Another Potestas attacks from behind, hitting the Magog in the back with a hand-fired blast. The creature is propelled into the ground but manages to rotate its body and hold on to the blast, just in time to plant its feet. The Magog's feet sink into the earth several inches as it growls and holds the energy at bay. The Potestas fire 2 more blasts in quick succession, overwhelming the Magog. The energy erupts and a powerful wind encircles the globe. The earth shakes violently as if going to tear apart. Anshar realm, Halavan. What is happening? Haida asks, trying to calm her nerves. For the past hour, she has alternated between fits of uncontrollable trembling and non-stop tears. It's agonizing for her to not know the fate of Enkidu and the rest of humanity. Hoyles is hesitant to reply. He knows humans far better than most of the other Yazda, having interacted with them as a Hashmalan guardian for many centuries. Enkidu lives, Doyle says shortly. Haida eyes him with anger and suspicion, feeling her Eyes upon him, the Yazda sighs loudly. Things do not look good. The Magog is too much for them. It gains strength as the battle wages. Not even the Potestas have been able to defeat it. Haida steadies herself, trying not to panic. How is that possible? Did you not say that the destroyers had defeated the Magog before? The beast is much more powerful now than it ever was in the past. What will happen now? Haida whispers, dropping to the ground and sitting. Is it hopeless? Doyle shakes his head. I do not know. I was confident that Enkidu could defeat the Magog with his full power, but the Potestas prevented him from ever getting a fair chance. Will everyone be killed? Haida's eyes glisten with tears as she thinks of all of the lives that have already been lost, and those poor souls who are to follow in the end. It does not look promising that the Magog can be stopped. If the Potestas fail, God will be left with no choice but to destroy the world and the Magog with it. No, Haida cries. That cannot be our fate. I will see to it that the human race continues. I may not be able to save everyone, but I will do my best to save enough to start over. Doyle reassures her. I have the Creator's assurance that he will never allow humanity to become extinct. With that guarantee, I will take it upon myself to preserve a handful of humans here to live with me until the time comes when they can be given back their home to repopulate. So I live here while you let others die? How is any of that fair? Send me back to stand by Enkidu's side in our final moments and preserve someone more deserving. I'm sorry, but you were specifically chosen to be one of the future mothers of the new human race. I cannot violate that order. Haida stands up to him, indignant. How dare you! She points her finger at the Yazda, enraged. How dare you and your gods speak of the importance of free will, yet you keep me here against mine. I wish to return to my world to die with the rest of my people. I wish to be with Enkidu and stand with him proudly, rather than cower here in fear with you. I cannot allow that, Doyle says, causing a deep sleep to fall upon the young woman. I'm sorry. The Hashmallam suddenly feels the heat of light energy singeing the back of its neck. Lianlim stands behind him, aiming her weapon at Doyle's. We are done allowing you to manipulate us, Yazata. We are not animals for you to breed and do with whatever you please. Even if we go to extinct, we will preserve our freedom. So be it, Doyle sighs in frustration. I will move on to my backup plan for preserving you stubborn creatures. Closing his eyes, Doyle concentrates on the aura of his newest student, whom he began training after Enkidu became occupied trying to rebuild his destroyed city. Locating the youth, Doyle decides to use Shunko Nido to bring him and the small group of humans he is protecting back to Holovin. It was a desperate but necessary measure to preserve the lives of the villagers, ensuring their safety in case the Yazda were unable to defeat the fearsome creature. Doyle's energy surged, creating a brilliant vortex of light and energy that enveloped the village and its inhabitants. Within moments, the world around the villagers began to distort and fade, replaced by a surreal and ethereal landscape. Reality seemed to bend and fold as the fabric of space and time yielded to celestial magic at work. In an instant, the villagers found themselves transported to divine realms, their surroundings transformed into a realm of sublime beauty and celestial wonder. They arrived in a place where the boundaries between mortal and divine blurred, where heavenly vistas unfolded in every direction. The air hummed with a sense of serenity and purity, carrying the fragrance of celestial blossoms and the harmonious melodies of celestial choirs. Soft light suffused the surroundings, casting a gentle glow upon the new environment. It was a realm untouched by the mundane concerns of mortal existence, where mortal burdens were momentarily lifted and replaced by a sense of awe and tranquility. Master Hoyles? Adonai asks with confusion. You saved us. The boy looks around, seeing that he is no longer in the midst of devastation and death. I cannot explain now. Suffice to say that your training must be expedited. If I must save your entire village to get you to stay, then it shall be so. Adonai nods, drawing his small sword with pride. I shall do my best, master. Doyle stood on the precipice of a moral dilemma, his heart heavy with conflicting emotions. He had watched Enkidu grow, mentored him with care and dedication. However, the current reality of their harsh struggle weighed heavily on Hoyles, revealing a truth he'd struggled to accept. As he observed the devastation left in the wake of the Magog's terror, Hoyles realized that even with Enkidu's formidable abilities, the odds of defeating the creature seemed insurmountable. The Magog's regenerative abilities and relentless malevolence proved to be a daunting adversary, capable of rendering the most potent attacks futile. To add to his own conflict, Hoyles witnessed the anguish of Enkidu's allies, determined to remain on their world even in the face of almost certain doom. Their resolve to stay and face the consequences alongside their beloved world, rather than seeking refuge on a new one, touched Hoyles' heart profoundly. He admired their courage, understanding that to them their home was worth fighting for, regardless of the odds. So Hoyles found himself grappling with the realization that Enkidu, despite his unwavering determination and growing power, might not be able to save the world from the Magog's grasp. It was a harsh truth to face, one that challenged his beliefs and his perception of the world's fate, yet amidst the turmoil. Doyle saw a glimmer of hope, a potential successor to carry on the mantle of protector and guardian. Adonai, though untested and untried, possessing raw potential but lacking the experience and strength that Enkidu had required. It was a gamble, and Hoyles doubted his own ability to guide and prepare Adonai for the daunting task that lay ahead. Hoyles found himself torn between the desire to believe in Enkidu's capabilities and the reality that the Magog's power seemed beyond their grasp. His heart ached at the thought of entrusting the fate of their world to a young, inexperienced successor, but he knew that he had to be strong. For Enkidu's sake, and for the survival of humanity, Hoyles understood that Enkidu had given his all in the battle against the Magog, but there were limits to what one individual could achieve. He had to accept that Enkidu's path had its end, and it was time to nurture the potential of Adonai and hope that the young man would rise to the occasion. With a heavy heart, Hoyles sought to find the balance between his belief in Enkidu's strength and the acknowledgement of the Magog's might. He knew that the battle was not just one of physical power, but also of resilience and hope, the kind of hope that thrived in the hearts of humans who chose to face their destiny with bravery and conviction. Kishar Realm, Earth. The Magog dodges an energy blast and punches its fist against the Potestas. The blow sends out a massive shockwave that flattens the landscape further. The Magog pivots, delivering another punch that staggers the destroyer backward. Darting to the Potesta's head, the Magog delivers an overhead smash that brings the behemoth to the ground. Landing on the Potesta's back, the Magog drives both arms down through its spine. "Look at it!" Enkidu shouts. "The Magog is absorbing energy from the Potestas." The destroyer is drained and left a motionless giant. Its body dulls like stone and whatever life it possessed fades. The Magog pulses with increased power. It salivates, chest heaving as it barely is able to contain so much raw strength. "Restore my energy," Enkidu pleads. "Allow me another chance. We cannot let the Magog absorb the power of the remaining Potestas." "You have lost your sword," Mikhail says dismissively. He is angered to say this, as a weapon is sacred to the Azata, and shameful to lose in battle. "You cannot fight the Magog unarmed." "Then lend me yours. I cannot abide by this any longer." Mikhail growls, kicking Enkidu to the ground. "Disgraceful!" the Yazata shouts. "Your sword was sacred, irreplaceable. Our weapons are an extension of our will and our hearts. You cannot just borrow the heart of someone else." Enkidu stands, eyeing the Yazata with mistrust. "What is a lost heart to the entire world?" Mikhail scoffs, turning his back to the human. "When you tire of watching the end, signal me so that we may leave." "Leave?" Enkidu is stunned. "What do you mean, leave?" Mikhail turns to face him again, agitated. "Does that word have another definition that I'm unaware of?" As I told you before, we will retire from this doomed world and leave it to be destroyed, whether it be by the Potestas or by God. No! You cannot destroy the world! Enkidu screams, reaching for Mikhail's holstered sword. Mikhail sidesteps and chops the human's neck with the edge of his hand. Enkidu collapses, losing control of his body. If the Potestas fail, the Creator will wipe this world from existence and start over elsewhere. You and your female shall repopulate the new world and begin anew. I refuse, Enkidu growls, forcing his body to stand. Mikhail is amazed that the man is able to overcome the strike meant to temporarily paralyze him. As long as I draw breath, I shall stand against this evil. If you die, another man will be chosen to father the new human race. Enkidu remains firm, showing no signs of changing his mind. That doesn't matter to me. My only concern is stopping the Magog. She will forget you in time. You will not even be remembered by the new human race for your sacrifice. I will gladly give my life in eternal silence, fading into obscurity, to give them that future. Mikhail smiles, flipping his sword and catching the blade so that the handle now extends towards Enkidu. You are a stubborn animal, Mikhail sighs, shaking his head. Your entire species is so difficult to control. I shall live and die as I choose. I will not allow you or anyone else to make that decision for me. The Magog ducks underneath a Potesta's punch and delivers an uppercut that creates a large dent in the destroyer's chest. Time is short, Mikhail says, restoring Enkidu's strength with his magic. You likely will only get a single shot at this. Enkidu nods, taking the Yazdan sword. The weapon is much lighter than Tiavan, and he pushes back the regret and sadness at losing his family heirloom, and the one given to him by Zyle. The Brahmastra technique seemed to do the most damage, but one will not be enough. That much was obvious, Mikhail explains hurriedly. Several consecutive attacks would be necessary, if even possible. I saw that a single burst of that attack drained nearly all of your stamina. Using Brahmastra at full power once is almost too much for my body to handle, Enkidu says shamefully. I will have to counter with something weaker afterward. Mikhail disagrees. The Magog will only rejuvenate itself if you hit it with anything less than that particular attack. He sighs, knowing what he is about to do is forbidden. Take my hands, he says, holding out his hands, palms facing upward. Borrow my energy, so that you will be able to unleash a second Brahmastra attack to finish off that damned beast. Without warning, a host of Yazata appear all around them, surrounding Enkidu with shining armor and brilliant radiance. The human shields his eyes and falls to his knees in humility. Unsure what is happening, Enkidu fears the worst. He knows that he would stand no chance against them, but he is a warrior, and to his last breath he would never give up. The ground shakes and a light shines down from the atmosphere upon them as Enkidu is anointed as a chosen warrior by the deity. A cloud of fire descends, causing them all to shield their eyes. The earth trembled in recognition of the celestial entity's power, as if paying homage to its magnificence. Trees and flowers touched by the divine radiance bloomed with renewed vitality, their petals unfolding in a kaleidoscope of hues. The skies, too, were transformed in the wake of the creature's descent. Clouds gathered in swirling patterns, their forms taking on shapes akin to celestial beings. Celestial light pierced through the veil of the heavens, casting a golden hue upon the world below. The very fabric of reality seemed to shimmer and dance in response to the divine presence. Cherubim, Mikhail whispers, kneeling in respect and averting his own eyes. What is a cherubim? Enkidu asks, his eyes shut tightly. They are a race above us, trusted wholly by the Creator. The cherubim protect sanctified artifacts in holy places, Mikhail replies. As the creature descended, its presence rippled through the atmosphere, causing a cascade of effects upon the environment. The air itself seemed to vibrate with ethereal energy, sending ripples through the fabric of reality. Colors intensified as if the world had suddenly become more vibrant and alive, infused with the essence of the divine. The creature is invisible within the flame, but extends four fiery wings of light energy. The spiritual pressure exerted weighs down upon them, pressing the human flat to the ground and struggling for breath. With the wave of a hand, the cherubim dismisses the remaining potestas. The destroyers rise into the atmosphere without a single inkling of protest. "Where are they going?" Enkidu whispers, still trying to shield his eyes from the light. "They have been recalled," a Yazata named Ophiel says, appearing beside them holding an ancient wooden box. "Recalled?" Mikhail whispers. "Why would they be recalled?" "Because they are no longer needed," Ophiel says. He opens the box and removes its contents. The Yazata holds out the long, two-bladed weapon. One end is a sharpened lance, while the other is a more traditional curved blade, roughly 4 feet in length. The staff connecting the two ends of the weapon is an additional 3 feet in length. The lance tip measures 1.5 feet. The entirety of the weapon is a shiny black color. With the Banu Kazka, the Magog will finally be defeated. Mikhail recognizes the weapon in disbelief. "Sane's weapon? Why have you brought that here?" "Enkidu of the clan Hyalura, you have been selected by the highest and deemed worthy to represent your species," Ophiel says. "The Banu Kazka contains incredible power that must not be abused or taken lightly." Nodding slowly, Enkidu lifts his body from the ground. "Take this blade and show the Magog no mercy. The Magog is incapable of understanding or exhibiting any compassion." "I do not believe it," Mikhail whispers, looking over at the sacred weapon. "I have not seen the Banu Kazka in millennia." "What is so special about this weapon?" Enkidu asks, swinging the blade. "The Banu Kazka is a relic left over from the First War of Falling. The weapon was instrumental in the defeat of the rebellious forces of General Sane of the Aralim," Ophiel says. Mikhail shudders with memories from that horrid war. Sane sacrificed the lives of countless warriors to forge that cursed weapon. It should not be here. It should be locked away for all time. "I do not know if I can use this in battle," Enkidu frowns, swinging the blade clumsily. "The weight distribution is awkward and puts me off balance." Enkidu is confused by the unexpected interference of the Creator. "Do not disrespect that weapon," Ophiel growls. "The Banu Kazka is one of the most powerful weapons in all of the Holy Armory." Mikhail stares at the messenger with suspicion. "How did you get this blade? The cherubim would not just release a weapon as powerful as the Banu Kazka to anyone." Ophiel is not bothered by Mikhail's suspicion. "I am not just anyone. You aren't the only seraphim to know where the armory is. By the way, how did the Solus Clamo work out for you?" Mikhail balls his fists, shaking with anger. "I would watch my tone if I were you." Again, Ophiel ignores any authority Mikhail possesses. "Good thing I'm not you." "Who the hell are you?" Mikhail growls. "That is not important now," Ophiel says. "What is important is that this human master is using the Banu Kazka and defeats the Magog. Where you and the other generals failed, this mortal will succeed." Enkidu feels strange sensations touching the Banu Kazka, and a current of energy flows through his fingers, through the weapon. A distant rustling like leaves being blown around buzzes in his ears, but no one else is aware of the sounds.